All right, what's up, guys? So I'm trying live video for the first time. Whether people are in here or not, you'll see it posted on the channel. Once I go live, I'll have it posted up on the channel for everybody to watch. So what I'm going to try and do here is a one take, and it's pretty much prepping the 3000 for the drift event next week. So starting point here, if you guys have followed my videos, is that you know that the car is rear-wheel drive. So to do that, what we did was weld the center diff, and we then plugged the transmission and the axle stubs. So we used axle stubs from the outsides and insides. Insides went in to plug the trans, and the outsides were used here to hold the wheel hub together. So that was step one. Step two was welding the center diff, like I just mentioned. So at that point we had a rear wheel drive 3000 GT. So initially I welded the diff in the rear and it sucked. So I then put this diff together. It was a spare diff that I had to get a new LSD unit for it. So I put this diff together, put some fresh axles in it, and it's a factory VLSD. And I street drove it with that down to H2O, which you guys saw in, I think, my last video or something like that. So for the drift event, what I had to do is swap. I had to pull this diff out and then swap in the welded. So I mean, the welded's not in there right now. That's going to be tomorrow night's project. But that is a major step for us getting the car ready for Englishtown, because I was out messing around the other night with the VLSD and I actually had it unlock on me for the first time, and it almost put my car into a ditch. So this is definitely not suitable for drifting, and it's definitely something the car it can't handle the power being sent to the rear wheels full time to do what I would want it to do. Another thing we're working on, let me unlock the car, is the hydro setup. So I'll grab a light. What's up, Jesse? Thank you for tuning in, man. All right, so next here is the hydro setup. So with the way a 3000 GT is set up, it has individual brake lines that go from the front of the car to the back of the car, as opposed to like a 240 where they have one brake line that goes from the front to the back and then tees off in the back. So in order to run the inline, I could have teed the lines together, came into a single master cylinder, and then split them off later on, but I didn't want to mess with the brake bias on the street when I'm not using this handbrake. So I got this generic handbrake that has 2 master cylinders, and you know, it's your typical e-brake. What I'm going to do eventually is replace these master cylinders. These are just off-brand eBay master cylinders. I'm going to replace them with Wilwoods, but want to see if it works first off. So basically what we're going to be doing is mounting the handbrake right about here. This is kind of a mock-up for a mount. On Sunday, we should be making the mount for it at Joe's house. So that's pretty much where the e-brake will sit. It's at a decent height to the shifter, and it'll do the job that we need it to do as far as locking up the rear wheels. Not saying that, you know, I'm going to need it for drifting. A lot of guys will argue that, you know, when you're learning how to drift, you don't need a handbrake right away, but my factory e-brake is not hooked up to anything, because once again, this car is a swapped car, and when we did the all-wheel drive subframe conversion, the lines were rusted and we didn't go forward with getting new e-brake lines and things like that. So the hydro will be going in hopefully Sunday, and I'm really hoping Sunday, because I'll be able to bring it back here and make lines for it. And you guys will see that. I'll make a video of our whole process of making the bracket and mounting up the hydro e-brake, running the lines and things like that. But I don't think I ordered enough stainless braided line, so I'll probably have to place an order on Monday, and hope that it gets here by next Friday when I'll be loading the car up to go to the track. I got some spare wheels, which I mentioned also in my last video, which are pretty important for drifting. So if you guys didn't see in the last video, I got these Mustang wheels. They're 17 by 8, and they have a 215/50 on them. They spin so much easier than the RPF ones do. So the RPF ones that I normally run on all four corners are 18 by 10.5, with a 245/40 stretched onto those. So tomorrow night's project is going to be putting the pink diff in, the fun diff. So this diff is used purely for the track. That's the only time it's going to ever be in the car. So what I did is I drilled a hole in each CV boot, pumped it full of grease, boot CV joint grease, and then I cellophane wrapped them with some zip ties, because after I had the subframe out and I cleaned everything up, I'm tired of axle grease getting everywhere. So what I'm going to do is hope that while I'm at the track, if any of these boots do rip, the cellophane will help keep it contained a little bit more so that grease isn't slinging everywhere, both on track and on the bottom of my car. So this will be going in tomorrow night. We'll have the welded diff. The only other thing that I had to do for club loose was fix my battery mount. So my battery was moving around a little bit from side to side. So I put a rubber mat underneath of it, and it doesn't allow it to move anymore. So it's now secure. And I also had to make a heat shield, which I mentioned in my last video, so that it can protect my brake master cylinder, my clutch master cylinder, and the reservoirs and all that from heat. So that's a track requirement. Everything else on the car is ready to go. I did have to fix one thing after H2O. I noticed that the wire for my fuel pump relay, the fuel relay right here, it's the first wire on my little fuse block here that I made. The connection was getting hot, right? Only this part of the wire was getting hot. So I talked to a couple of my friends, and they were saying that it could be a resistance issue because the surface area of the spade connector is very small compared to the power draw that's required from the fuel pump. So what I did is I replaced it with this larger connector here, and it has much more surface area touching the metal contact on the fuse block, so that there's less resistance for the power to be pulled through. And I did this, and it worked. So the connection no longer gets hot. The relay still doesn't get hot, nothing. Everything seems all right there. So that's another issue. Could have been an issue down the road, because from the looks of it, that connection was ready to just kind of fall apart on me, and it probably would have left me stranded somewhere. So before I wrap this little live video up, this is my first time doing a one-take live video. The car is going to be getting wrapped. The wrap actually gets delivered tomorrow, and it's going to be really hard for me to hold off doing the wrap until after the drift event is over. But I'll reveal the color to you guys. I don't think I told you guys the color on here, so I'll reveal the color to you guys at some point, maybe this weekend. And then after the drift event next week, I'm going to proceed to then move on and start wrapping the car and document that whole process if the car comes out unhurt from the drift event. So thank you guys for watching. Those of you that tuned in, first time doing a live video like this, so thanks for sticking around, and we'll see what we have going on this weekend. I'm probably not going to do a video tomorrow night because putting the diff in is pretty straightforward, and I mean, I've already done a video pulling the subframe and all that nonsense. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.